Welcome. So we're going to start today's practice on hands and knees. So get yourself set up with maybe a block or two. And if your knees are at all sensitive, you can always have a blanket, or if you don't have a blanket handy or a towel handy, you can always fold over your mat. So we'll be on the knees a little bit. And this is just a mixed levels class. Should go at a nice brisk pace today. And I'm happy to have the outdoors because summer is finally transitioned to fall here, and it's much cooler and nicer to be outside at this time of day, which is the afternoon. So welcome to the Southwest, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and conscious well-being. And let's get started. Okay, so set yourself up on hands and knees. Take a few moments just to feel your palms, feel the grip down into your fingertips. You can lift the palms just a little bit, one at a time. And then just take a inhale here and just smooth it out, breathing in through the nose. And exhale, feel a little bit of that low belly anchoring in and up. And here comes my kitty cat. And then let's do that a couple more times. Inhale to extend the spine, drawing the center of the chest, the eye of the heart, forward between the gate of the upper arms, the shoulders soften down. And then exhale and draw up into the navel. Feel that anchor. Really empty out the exhale completely. Keep those fingertips active as you pull the chest through on your next inhale breath. And this exhale, we're just going to seat the hips back to the heels and find child's pose for a moment. You can rest the head down or have the head resting on a block if you like. Just take a more passive inhale here and a more active exhale. Really following through to that point of stillness on your exhale. Maybe even pausing into that stillness. Just test it out, see what feels good for you. And then we're going to inhale and just lift the right hand and extend it a little bit further. Lift the left palms, extend that a little bit further. And then again, seat the hips way back and down into your heel bones if you can. So arms are pretty active here. You're lifting up, hollowing out the armpits, but softening the outer shoulders down towards the floor as much as possible. Weighting the hips back, staying with that passive inhale and more active exhale. Following through on the exhale to that point of stillness and just playing with that stillness, that pause a little bit to your degree of comfort, of course. And then we're going to start to walk the hands one by one over to the right side. And really get a stretch on the whole right side, waist down to the hips, the right side of the arm. We can even feel it into the right pinky finger, left pinky finger. And then maybe even lift your left hip and set it down to the side of your left foot. So you can increase the stretch any amount more by walking the hands further to the side or lowering the hip further to the left. And then working the breath through all. Remember the breath and the body and its movement are always compatible. Let's take the inhale to transition back through center for a moment. Reset your hips back and down. Just feel a little symmetry side to side. Take a breath and just really fill the body with the breath, especially through the back ribs, the side ribs. And exhale, really actively press the breath out, activating the abdominals. And then go ahead, walk the hands one by one over to the left side. And again, you decide what kind of stretch you want. Remembering we're always different, side to side, right to left. So find where your asymmetry can be workable. Maybe moving the hip off and towards the right as the hands move towards the left, increasing that arc of a stretch. And then on your inhale, we're going to walk through center. So this time we're going to just bring the weight forward in your palms and start to dial the knees over to the right and then press back. This is a little bit of a different twist where we're fixing the upper body from the navel up in one position. So that hasn't changed. So the lower body is what is driving the twist. So then just press back and then come up and then maybe go a little bit further with the legs, the knees pointed towards the right, and sitting the hips back, pressing evenly through the arms. You can go one more time if you like, or if that's enough for you, just stay there and breathe. And then we'll come through an inhale and we'll turn the knees to the left, always keeping the upper body and the trunk above the navel, facing forward and squared with the mat, and then send the hips back. And then playing with how deep you want to go. Every exhale, finding a little bit more of that scoop in the low belly. Really working the breath completely out. And staying here, going a little further if you'd like. Really kind of twisting your upper body almost in the opposite direction to the right as the legs and the lower body go to the left. And then really feeling that deeper twist as you go back. Good. And then we'll come back and forward. And let's just press back into child's pose. And you can widen your knees apart for this one. Let's kind of release the belly, let it go a little bit slack. You can lower onto the forearms or stack your hands and lower the head down. Just stay here for a breath, breathing from the inside out. Almost feel like your lungs. If you can breathe your lungs out into the inside of your rib cage. Even visualizing that as much as possible. Filling out and exhaling, allowing the breath to pour out softly, smoothly, easily. Feeling how the breath enervates the entire body through the transfer of oxygen. And again, let's come forward. We're going to step the right knee forward, keeping the toes pointed of the front foot and the back foot. And I'll demonstrate this with blocks to begin, because some of you might find that you need blocks or some type of support to help lift the frontal spine up and away. So every exhale, belly to spine, lean through the tailbone. And really think about extending long through the left leg, turning the outer hip down, squaring the hips as much as possible. Keep lifting from the pubis bone all the way up towards the navel, navel up towards the xiphoid. Keep lifting from behind the heart, behind the shoulder blades to get that full balanced back bend. Nice and even, not cranking in the low back, not cranking out the neck, but keeping the entire sense of arcing the spine even and evenly lifted. And then fill it out with the breath. Good. And exhale. And then we're slowly just going to take a few cat-cows. Okay, so inhaling, and we'll keep a little bend in the elbows. Use the grip of your fingertips again and pull the heart through. Exhale. And take the navel in and up, and you can round the upper spine. Even lift the hips up a little bit and lift off the back knee. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale. Open. Exhale. Gather in and up. 1 more time like that. Breathe in. Exhale, really consciously press into the top of the back foot and feel the stretch in the front of the ankle. And then lower down, and then we'll start to walk the hands out. You can walk out with your blocks if you have them, or just walk your arms out and lower down. And just kind of melt over the front leg. And you can oscillate a little side to side. Breathing in and out. Always trying to be a little bit more passive with the inhale and a little more active with the exhale. There's a sense of gathering and anchoring in as you exhale. And the inhale gives you a sense of expanding and opening, extending, lifting. Good. And then we'll walk the hands to come back. And then we're just going to take the legs in a different position, a half frog position here. So the right leg goes out to the side. The knee is even with the right hip. We're making nice, even right angles from the ankle to the knee joint to the hip joint. Slow it down onto the forearms and just let yourself melt into the pose. There's really no need to actively do anything here, because gravity really does most of the work. So even out your shoulder blades, press into your forearms to pick up your center chest a little bit, send it forward, let the shoulder blades drop down to hold and build that lift and that expansion through the chest. Big breath. In and out through the nose. You can find that ujjayi breath. You know, ujjayi comes naturally just as you extend your breath to the inhales or the exhales. So if you lengthen your breath long enough, the breath will naturally go into that ujjayi sound. And we'll take 1 more breath here. And then we'll more actively lift the chest. So a little bit more of a back bend. So keep those hips nicely anchored. Keep the back leg through the left toes extended and really firming and rooting into the ground as you lift up. Picking up the low belly, lengthening low belly to chest, chest to throat, throat to gaze. To close my eyes because the sun's peeking right through the branch. And then exhale, pull the length out of the spine as you lower down. Good. All right, we're going to turn this into a recline twist by pressing into the right palm, threading the left arm through and out to the side. So really reach through the left fingers. Start to roll onto your left side and slowly roll towards the back. The right arm, just go out to the side and just stay here and breathe just for a moment. adjust as you need to. I like to take my right hand and just grab a hold underneath the chest and just kind of move it out to the left side a little bit. And then you can extend the right arm out to the side in the T formation, or you can do cactus, whatever feels good. Staying here and just breathing in, especially to the back of your right waist, your right rib cage, your right kidney, just filling with breath. Trying to stay with that passive inhale and an active exhale. And then just adding a little quad stretch here. If you want to bend that left knee and take a hold with your right hand, just breathe into the top of that left thigh and left hip flexor. Pointing the left knee away from you towards the bottom of your mat. And then let that go if you have a hold. And then bring your right palm down, press, and then roll back onto your belly for a moment. Just extend both legs nice and long. Stay in this Sphinx pose for an inhale breath. And exhale, anchor through the tailbone. Let's feel the resist and support the low belly. Working those two sides, those 2 points of reference together. And then slowly lowering down. Let's go ahead and press back to child's pose. Taking a moment and finding that inhale breath, whether it's ujjayi or not. You can keep your ujjayi breath more or less on the exhales if that's a little easier. And then coming forward on your inhale, we're going to point the left knee forward and consciously extend that right foot back. And both feet are pointed back. Okay, and then you can prop yourself up on your blocks again like you did before, or just here on your fingertips. Inhale, push down in a way to lift the frontal spine. Lift the low belly out and away from the hips. Every exhale, maybe sink the hips back a little bit more. Breathing in and out. Breathing consciously. So much of our breathing is done unconsciously. It's so nice when we really marry our awareness to the breath for the little bit of time that we do it. It feels different, it feels new, it feels fresh. Good. And then let's see if we can just do a few little cat-cows. Inhaling, bending the elbows a little bit to pick up the spine and open through the eye of your sternum, and exhale to reverse that. Even lifting out of the back knee, lifting from the pelvic floor base a little bit. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. One last time like this. And then letting the hips sink and walk your hands slowly forward. And just fold and melt over that left leg now. Take a breath, filling up the back ribs, the back waist. Exhale, a little more active. Maybe working into that pause. And slowly come up. Use the hands to work the left leg now into that position. To the left, keeping those angles pretty even. And if that position is not too nice for your knee and you need to modify it, you can take more or less a tree position. So that'll be a little bit easier on your knee. your inner knee especially. And just staying here on your forearms, even out the shoulders. And really there's not much to do except extend through the right toes. Maybe even lift the right kneecap a little bit to bring a little extra activity to the right leg. And the front of the right quad and the right hip flexor are really open and softening here. And then the left groin, the inner groin of the left leg. Working into the front of the right ankle as well. So you want to really try and flatten that curve of the ankle into the floor as much as possible, just to open up and give it a nice stretch. And then just working into the arms. So really it's most of the weight is really from the push of the arms and the hands. And building into that back bend, nice and slow. Make more of the curve come behind the breastbone, not the low back and not the neck. So kind of maybe working against those typical patterns that we have. Since those two areas of the spine are the most mobile, we often have to really adjust and pause for a moment and work that back bend from a deeper, more therapeutic place. And that would be the mid spine or the thoracic spine. So working a little bit more mobility into that area of the spine, which is typically more rigid for most of us. And then slowly coming down, little by little, extending the spine on the way down. And then using a press of the left hand to thread the right arm over to the left. Really reach and elongate that arm as you roll onto the back and open your left arm out to the side. And back into this recline twist. Adjust yourself as you need to. Again, you can grab a chunk of your right upper ribs and just kind of draw them over a little bit to the side. And then reposition your left arm, and you can also take any position of the arms that feel good here. When and if you're ready, you can add the stretch to the top of the right quad, breathing into the hip flexor. Adjust as necessary. Breathing into the back of the left side waist, left kidney. And we're going to slowly come out of this. Come back onto the belly, press into the palms. And just go ahead and seat yourself back into a child's pose. And we can, again, widen the knees apart, walk the hands forward and prop yourself up on your fingertips. Just gonna open up the wrists a little bit. And what I like to do is just swing the chest side to side, just allowing that the back of the shoulders and the back of the upper rib cage to melt a little bit more into the body. Again, bringing a little bit more mobility into the thoracic spine. This is always one of the key focal points of working into yoga therapy. And then plant the palms, come forward, and then bring the knees back into alignment. This time we're going to keep the toes tucked of the feet, and we're going to send the right foot forward and the right knee comes forward, just like we did before, but now the toes are tucked, front and back foot. And then come up, you can come up, prop yourself up on your blocks again, and then lift the back knee and just kind of lengthen out through the heel a little bit. As you do that, pick up the chest and draw the shoulder blades down. It's kind of wrapping the shoulder blades against the upper back to really provide that support to lift and open. The lower belly active. Good. And then let the back knee drop down a little bit, and then find a little bit of a balance here. So maybe you don't need to have your hands down, just test it out. Hands can come to the hips. Keep breathing out and finding that anchor of the low belly. Find the tailbone, working the two together. Maybe lifting the arms up, drawing the palms together, bending the elbows, dropping the chin towards the chest without caving in the chest. And then draw the elbows back up. This helps to pick up and open the eye of your heart. Ooh, that sun's just heading right for me. Breathing in and out easily, keeping the balance. Feel a compaction from side to side, working towards your midline for that stability. And then lift up and bring the hands down. And we're just going to play with a version of plank pose here. So really pushing strongly through the arms, rounding the upper back, lifting the knee, lifting the back knee. So the back leg is extended fully through the heel. And the right knee is right up into your right chest. And then you're coming forward with your shoulders. And then inhale drops you back down. Open the chest here, a little bit of a cow spine, and exhale, push and lift up. Really draw that right knee in. You still have both of your feet down as anchors, but we're going to go and try to lift the front foot for the next one. So take your inhale breath here. Exhale, push and lift. Good. And then point the right toes and really hold this. If you need to drop the toes down, go ahead and do that. Just working your strength little by little, not being impatient. Seeing how you can unclutter here. Good. Something that's unshakable in you. Let it come out. Good. And then drop the shin down. Go sit on the right hip and open out to the left long edge of your mat here. Stay here for a moment just to adjust. You can pull out the muscles of the glute side to side so you can really feel your sit bones. And then reach long through the left arm over the extended left leg. Just really lean into it. And then as you inhale, we're going to reach and sweep the left arm up and over to lift the hips and open up. And then reverse it on the way down as you exhale. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, sweep and lift. One more time. This time we can work into fallen triangle, or you can stay right here. Sliding out the right foot at a diagonal, keeping both legs equally active. Reach up and open. I was afraid that was going to happen. Really work the sacrum, work the tailbone. And then go ahead. Turn toward your mat. Lower the left palm down. Lower the left knee down and catch your outer right ankle right on top of your left knee as you sit back, and you can push back into this figure 4 pose that stretches out your whole right glute. You go get this earpiece back in. So let the right toes lift off and keep the right foot nicely flexed here. And then just kind of wiggle waggle around a little, really opening into the left toes as well. And then rock your weight forward. And we're going to lift this shape up into a down dog, pressing the inner right knee away from you. Try to even out the hips. Lift up the right hip a little bit and press the sit bones back evenly. One more breath. Inner palms firm, wrapping the triceps back. And then find your classic down dog, releasing the right foot down, press out evenly. Just observe the body and the breath. Keep the fronts of the thighs actively pressing back, lifting the tailbone higher, dropping through the head. Inhale, float out to a plank. Holding plank. Let your plank hold up the world. Unshakable. Determined. But there's an equal amount of softness here. And then lift the hips high and press back, down dog. You can even sink into the knees a little here and let the heels lift. Just play with it as much as you like, whatever feels good. Good, and then come forward again into plank, holding it for a count of 5 and 4. This is one of the most effective and efficient core exercise that you can possibly do. It's an overall body strengthener, building endurance and strength while using all of the mindfulness skills of yoga. It's a metaphor for life. And then creep forward a little bit with your shoulders, drop the knees down and send the hips back. Take your child's pose. Keep the toes tucked here. We're going to go onto the left side. On your inhale, left knee forward, toes tucked, front and back leg. Coming up using your blocks or your fingertips. Lifting the eye of the heart up and forward. Anchoring in the low belly, anchoring the tailbone. Lifting up with the back knee, extending back through the right heel. Maybe finding a balance here. Even out the hips. Adding the arms if you like. Breathing easily, looking for that evenness of expansion. Good, and then come down, pressing strongly through both of your palms and picking up the front knee and lengthening through the back heel. Hug everything in. This is a really strong pose. Let's take the inhale and drop down just for a moment. Draw the chest forward. Exhale, push and lift, squeezing the abdomen up and in towards the spine. Inhale, drop down, open. Exhale, push and lift. This time maybe squeezing the toes back and hugging that tuck into your left side chest. Even out the push through the arms, push from the shoulders evenly and equally. Really work that back leg. Hug the left knee in. One more breath, stay with it. And lower down all the way. Good job. Turn out to the right side of the mat. Hopefully my earpiece will stay in this time, reaching out towards the extended leg, working into the left palm to lift. That's your inhale. Scoop the belly as you lower down. Exhale. Inhale, sweep and lift. One more here. You can stay. Or you can decide to work on fallen triangle, lengthening the leg out, really opening and broadening through the pelvis. Breathe in and exhale, lower belly really firms in and up. Even work through the legs. And then turn towards the mat, lowering the right hand down, lower the right knee down. And then slowly take the foot back. Working into that figure 4 position, and then use the arms to press the hips back so the left foot will come off the floor. Hinging deeply into the hips. Keeping the spine long here, so you want to think of the hinge as really only happening from the hips and not from anywhere in the spine that will cause you to round and kind of collapse into this. Now push with the arms, keep the length of the spine, and use that hinge at the hips to get your maximum stretch here. And bring the weight forward. Keep the shape in your legs. Just lift the hips up, press back, down dog with the same shape. Pressing the inner knee back. Pick up the left hip and press it back. And then come forward a little bit just to undo that leg and press back. So nice, even down dog shape. And just wiggle the hips a little bit, loosen up. Breathe. Move as you wish. Whatever feels good here. And then coming forward, just kind of rolling it out into your plank pose. Holding here, staying very even, not only in the lines of this pose anatomically, but also evening out the mind and the thoughts, all the fluctuations, staying even and smooth inside and out. Exhale, gathering in and up. Inhale, feel expansion. And then come a little bit forward, drop the knees if you need to, and come down. Do a little bit of back bends from the floor. These prone back bends are really the best option for anybody that has disc issues or low back or any part of your spine. If there's any conditions or issues you need to worry about, these usually take care of a lot of that. They're very safe. They're typically not our favorite ones to do because they're a little harder. We have to work to lift out of gravity, and gravity's heavy. So let's try, first of all, just letting the hips and legs really solidify to the ground. So you want them really heavy here. Every exhale, you want to anchor the tailbone. Low belly firms up and back. And then just let everything be really kind of light and relaxed on your lower body, and use the strength of your arms to lift up. But as you lift, we're not going to push up into a back bend that cranks into the low back. We want to push with the arms, but we want to lengthen out of the hips with the spine as we push. So we keep finding more length. Take a little break in your back bend. Come slightly out of it or all the way out of it if you need to. And just kind of keep readjusting. Picking up from just below, just beneath the belly button. And lengthening from there then lifting. See how that feels, if that feels more spacious in your low back. And then once you feel that amount of lengthening, then you can work more on adjusting the shoulder blades down the back, maybe letting the shoulder blades come a little bit closer together on your back to open and lift the front chest. Working the back bend from behind to lift from the front. Even it out as much as you can with your breath. And then slowly pull with your fingertips to lower down and extend as you lower. Beautiful. And then just bring your palms back. Tuck the toes. And then lift the hips. And we'll find down dog again. 3 breaths here. Moving again if you need to, keeping the knees bent if you need to. And then get to the top of the mat, however you need to. So you can take a walk, or you can step, or you can hop forward. Halfway lift on your inhale, extending the spine long, keeping the legs firm, keeping the hips drawing back. And then exhale and take a gentle forward fold here. So if you need to keep the knees bent, go right ahead doing that. And let's rise up on your next inhale breath. I'm enjoying the dappled sunlight and shade. It's so pretty. And let's stay here for a moment just to reset, refresh. We'll bring a little heat into the body now and bring some Surya Namaskar, a modification of A. So we lift up, lift the quads up towards the hips, and exhale. Keep the thighs firm as you fold over. Stepping the right foot back, find a lunge, low lunge pose. And then exhale, take the hips back and flex the front foot. Find an Ardha Hanuman or a half split pose here, opening up the back of the left leg all the way down into the Achilles. And then rock your weight forward, press into the palm, step the left foot back, find your plank pose here. Evening it out, smoothing it out. And seeing what you don't need to carry with you, how you can make this pose lighter. Lighter energetically, but maybe lighter mentally. What can you let go of? What are you resisting in this pose, really? Then come forward, pull yourself forward, get long as you lower, stay long, get longer as you lower. Inhale, pull into a cobra. Maybe using more of your spinal muscles now, less of the arms, or if that was working better for you, what we did before, bringing the arms in a different position, more in front and out to the side, and working the strength. Maybe that's a little bit more ease for your low back, but always remembering to draw up and out of the hips. So again, keeping that balance, that sense of a smooth, even arc of a spine. If you like, you can draw into an upward dog. Lifting the kneecaps. Really push down, use the hands to bring the heart up. And then exhale, lift the hips, fold down dog. At the end of your next exhale, step or hop. Draw up on your inhale breath. Exhale, go right down. Left foot back. Lunge. Ardha Hanuman. Keep the spine lengthening. Keep the foot flexed. And rocking the weight forward, press into the palms, step the right foot back, plank pose again. Really broadening the shoulder blades apart. Staying soft into this effort. Using the front body to hold the weight of the back body. And then come forward, stay long to lower. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale and stay. Stay for another inhale. Really maximize the length of your spine here. And exhale, hips up and back, fold. Downward dog. At the end of your next exhale, you're going to step, hop, or walk. Opening up a little bit more, maybe in the backs of your legs now. Bringing your weight of the hips a little bit forward. Make sure the thighs are really active. Knees are drawing up. Thighs are drawing up into the hip creases. Widening the inner upper thighs apart, as if someone's pulling them apart for you. Halfway lift here. And then bending the knees, rising the heart, rising the arms, chair pose. Sit down and back. Energy of the heart, forward and up. Squeeze the sides of the glutes. Squeeze the thighs. Firm the belly back. Shoulders stay soft, so not overusing the shoulders, but making the arms active. Good, coming up on the toes. Staying here, keep squeezing in. Squeezing back with the belly. Good, rising up, stay on the toes if you can. Soft gaze, arms up and then arms lower, but you're staying very tall, growing even further. And then slowly lower down with the heels, beautiful. Inhale, rise. And exhale and fold. Step the right foot back. Finding warrior one. Make sure you have a proper placement of the back foot so it's slightly angled in. Hang the right hip, come forward in line with your left hip, and use your hands to give you that feedback. Tugging the left outer hip back if you need to. Rising the arms in cactus. Tilting the forearms through the wrists, through the fingertips back. To open up and broaden the chest, broadening the collarbones. Really aiming the back bend more behind the sternum. And straightening the legs, just let the circulation flow through. Then we bend the front knee and find extended side angle. And then looking forward, let's bring the right arm on top of the left arm. Find eagle arms here. Backs of hands can be together or the palms. Stay low as you rise. Inhale. Whoops. And exhale. We're going to come to a bow. You can bow with your arms right on that leg. Or you can take it further down. Going pretty low here. We're going to stay in this bow for 3 breaths. So really to get the most out of it, letting yourself slowly melt through that left hip. I think I'm going. Last breath. The back leg really firmly pressed. And then slowly come up, easing out, straightening the front leg, lifting up a little bit of a back bend here. And then coming forward into a warrior 3. So take your time. Keep working into the outer left glute. Is stabilize this standing balance. And then take a really long step back, angle the foot, and come back to your extended side angle. This time we can take a half bind, an extended side angle, or you can take a full bind if that's in your practice. Holding the right wrist and turning the shoulder, turning the chest. Trying to stay really nice and wide. And then maybe adding a little variation here of Ardha Hanuman, what we just did before in the warm-up, vinyasa, and we'll just go back with the bind or the half bind if you have it. Come forward, flipping the toes to face that long edge and keeping the bind again or the half bind. And leaning into the left leg. Breathe into the kidneys. And then slowly let that go. Good, and just kind of wiggle around a little bit here, and we'll go to the back of the mat. And then we'll work that sequence from the back to the front. Hands to the waist. Let's use an inhale to come up. Good, readjust to the back of the mat for your warrior 1 pose. Working the hips in line. Adjust if you need to. Good, and then tipping and angling the forearms back through the fingertips. So there's no angle at the wrists. The wrists are in line. And let that really open up the eye of your chest. Good, and then go ahead and find extended side angle. Try not to dump the weight onto the leg, but let yourself lighten out of it a little by using a little bit more of your core to hold you, less of your arm. And then turning towards that leg, and then we'll wrap the left arm on top of the right for those eagle arms. And come up for your inhale. And exhale, coming forward. Maybe landing on top of the leg for your bow, or coming forward and lowering on the inside of the leg. And we'll stay for 2 more breaths. Use your next inhale. Use the press of your feet and the extension of the back leg to come up. And getting prepared for going into our warrior 3, bringing the weight forward onto your right foot now. Working the right leg strongly into the ground to lift the left leg up in line with your hip, in line with the shoulders. Keep the belly active. Muscle into the bone on your right leg. And then a big step back. Land it. And then come right into your extended side angle. So we'll go into a half bind. Work that. Or as we did on the first side, go into a full bind if that's your practice. And then being easy with yourself, so not forcing anything. Something always wants to come out of my ear. And then you can do that little variation that we did on the first side of our Ardha Hanuman. Oh, that feels good. That front leg has been doing a lot of work, so that feels really excellent. And then turn, pivot both of your feet to that side and stay with yourself in a bind, a full bind or a half bind here. And then slowly release that. Let's go for an extension, a halfway lift, and an exhale, a softer fold. So even bending the knees a little here. Give a little shake, shake. And then coming all the way forward. Let's go ahead and bring the feet together at the top of the mat now. Big breath here. Exhale and fold. And then widen the feet apart. We'll go into Malasana. Getting a little deeper into the hips. Anchoring the elbows against the inner knees to create a little bit more wideness across the hips and the thighs. Lifting the front chest forward and up. Dropping into the heels. Feel that stretch. Good stretch. And then sliding the back of the shoulder down the inner left knee. So maybe staying here. If you lift the hips and you start to take a bind, wrapping the left arm behind the leg, feeling for the left kidney, and then meeting the left hand with the right hand. Heel toe the right foot towards the center. And slowly coming up. Take a few moments here just to reset, refresh the pose, the breath, whatever you need to do to adjust. And then go into your full extension. Come back down in the same controlled way you came up. And then go over the bind. If you didn't get up this time, don't worry. Just step by step, you'll get there. You want to get the shoulder really down. So just working here will eventually give you the flexibility you need. And then, of course, you need to work on strength of the standing leg. So lifting the hips and getting that contact of the right hand right against the kidney, and then wrapping the left arm around. Heel toe the feet in closer and stand up. Active through the belly, active through the standing leg. Keep lifting and softening, widening through the hips. When you're ready, maybe an extension. Whoa, that leg wanted to come down a little too fast. And then let's come into a forward fold here. Again, nice little wiggle around. And then stepping feet back. Let's come on to the shins. And then we're gonna do a little bit of preparation for Camel Pose. So I like to do Vira or half Vira. So if we do half Verasana, we'll extend the right leg forward and sit down and start to walk yourself back. So I like to open up the front of the thighs, especially after some standing poses that really work on strengthening. So now they're really ready and ripe to work into stretching. So just breathe into the front of the left thigh and the left hip flexor, into the left side of the abdomen. Remembering that it's all one integrated whole. You can come all the way down if that feels good. And those of you that want to do this with both of the legs back together, that's great too. You can also lean back on blocks if it's a little bit easier and you're angled up a little bit higher. So if you're just still working on the flexibility, it's just going to take you down in stages. Just keep finding more height that you can lean on. Eventually that height gets lower and lower. Okay, so if you're in the full Verasana, just stay there. And then those of us that did one side at a time, we're just going to do the opposite side. So again, leaning back, walking the hands back. This might be enough of a stretch, or lowering down on the elbows or blocks, or going all the way. And then slowly coming up. Nice. And then we'll take the legs back, sitting on the shins. And we'll go side to side, just like we did our sweeps from our lunge position. We'll try doing the sweep from our Camel Pose just to start to warm up the hips and try to feel how we need to lift and how we need to support with the legs. So let's work the right hand just a little bit to the side and behind the right foot. And on the left arm, we're going to sweep in and up, pushing the hips up. You can also work with a block for this. Making sure you get that right hip a little bit more forward so that the hips stay as square as possible here. And then reversing the arc to come down, scooping the belly. I'm having a lot of trouble with this earpiece today. I'm not sure why. And then we'll go on the other side. So left hand to block. Sweep the right arm up. Really squeeze the left hip a little bit more forward so it doesn't cave in. And then reverse that arc going down. Let's just do it again. Good, and we'll find a camel pose now. And again, you can be on your toes. Toes can be tucked or they can be pointed back. You can work on blocks, or you can still just go side to side if that's just a better positioning for you. And it just feels better for you today. So all of those cues pretty much apply to camel as well, even though it's more of a drop back position of a back bend. I want you to consider lifting the low belly up and up and up, really extending and using the legs as a grounding force for that lift and that extension. So the more you use the legs, and if you have the feet, the toes tucked or pointed, you use the feet as well. So lifting up and up and up. Again, taking a break in your back bend if you need to. Readjusting. Firming into the legs a little more. Anchoring through the tailbone. Support from the legs and the low belly to keep finding more and more extension and lift. Wherever you need to have the hands, heels, feet, blocks, at the small of your back. Explore it a little more. Working from behind the heart, behind the collarbone. Open and lift even more. And then to come out, use your inhale breath, use the press of your legs, working into those anchors, and then lower yourself down. Taking a rest for a moment. I like to bring a block behind me. Maybe I'll turn it to the other side so you can probably see better. It's kind of a fun way to explore and just kind of challenge yourself if that back bend was kind of easy for you. Kind of point the toes for this one. And I'm going to aim just to drop my head back to the block. Just touch and lift. So this is a really good way to firm the legs and the quads and the glutes. Okay, so I just go to reach for my calf muscles. Tap and lift. Tap and lift and lift and lift and squeeze it up and then sit down. Okay, so just adding a little bit of a challenge there. Just going to take a moment just to reset and refresh. Let's bring the fingers lightly under the xiphoid process. That's the very end of the breastbone. the end of the sternum, right into the soft hollow of the upper abdomen. And just feel your heartbeat. Nice soft breaths in and out. Resetting and resettling the nervous system. Really nice, everybody. And then just sit down. Bend the knees one at a time and slowly get yourself down onto your back. Keep the knees bent and find a block just to lift the hips. And let the block support your sacrum. A really nice way to just let that keystone bone just kind of shift itself back into place. If it got disturbed during practice, take a breath there and just let the full weight, your body and your hips, just release onto that block. And then you go ahead and extend the right leg out through the right heel and just tuck the left knee in. Pull the left knee in, and you can even give a little bit of weight with your right hand, or if you have anything else handy, just in the front of your right hip flexor. And then let that go. And then rebend your right knee and extend your left leg all the way out through the heel. Really maximize the length. And then draw your right knee in. And then you might want to extend both of your legs, but not if it feels funky at all in the low back. So if you need to get off that block, you can go ahead and remove the block. I really like the way this feels. Extending the arms behind you and out to the sides a little bit, so you almost feel like you're a starfish. Reach and breathe out into your fingertips and your toes, and exhale and gather in. Connecting all the fragments, all the parts to the whole, and then resting in that wholeness. And that feeling of being enough in this moment. Always look for more, never fully satisfied. Always thinking that happiness or contentment is around the corner once we get this or that. And it's just a illusion we keep convincing ourselves of. What does it take to just drop in to this moment and let it be enough? How can we let go of resistance to that? And then you're welcome to add any ending postures you would like to add to your practice, or just go into a full Shavasana, stretching out, taking a few moments here. All the dappling sunlight has gone away now and left fully in shadow. Take a few moments just to really ground into yourself and see if you can feel that sense of surfeit, that sense of not needing anything to add on, that there is simply enough in this moment. I think that's really another form of compassion that we can practice. Compassion of getting out of those habits, letting those habits diminish, always striving for something else, always thinking that it's around the bend, everything is forward momentum, that it's so hard often to just pull back, to stop, and to just be okay with what you have right now. Because most of the time it's so much more than we initially thought. That there's magic in every moment that we have, that we just have to shift out of that, always striving and seeking and not being content with what we have. How do we find contentment in all that we have? How do we want what we have? Instead of having what we don't want? How do we create that little shift of consciousness? I just want to read these beautiful words by Father Richard Rohr, who runs the Center of Contemplation and Action here in Albuquerque. And I've always heard quotes from him before, but I've recently signed up for the newsletter, so I get a lot of his quotes now. Anyway, what he said about compassion is pretty compelling. Compassion changes everything. Compassion heals. Compassion mends the broken and restores what has been lost. Compassion draws together those who have been estranged or never even dreamed they were connected. Compassion pulls us out of ourselves and into the heart of another, placing us on holy ground where we instinctively take off our shoes and walk in reverence. Compassion springs out of vulnerability and triumphs in unity. Only people at home in such a spacious place can take on the social illnesses of their time and even the betrayal of friends and not be destroyed by cynicism or bitterness. Compassion is the love that recognizes and goes forth to identify with the preciousness of all that is lost and broken within ourselves and others. So I thank you for joining me this late afternoon here in the Southwest, wherever you are. And please stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. And I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.